Welcome to Sabbath Collective, a community of people interested in celebrating the Sabbath and pursuing God through a Hebraic worldview of the Bible. We're in a new series now called Relationships, and today we're actually going to be talking about a family by choice. So you've heard it said before, we can't choose our families, but then again, there are those inner circle relationships, people we choose to make our family. And these chosen families can come by way of a marriage, two coming together to make a new family, or deep friendships that are not biological, but feel like mother, father, sister, brother kinds of relationships. But these families are special because they are by choice. We spoke last week about inner circle and outer circle friendships. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is this inner circle relationship. And we're going to glimpse what this looks like with the vows Ruth makes to Naomi in the story of a family by choice. If you have access to scriptures on your phone, on your iPad, if you have a hard copy, we normally use the complete Jewish version, but any version is great. You can also find complete Jewish version online pretty easily. If you turn with me to Ruth, the book of Ruth, chapter 1, and I'm going to give you a little backstory. Elimelech, that's the patriarch in this family, and his wife Naomi and their two sons, Mechlon and Kilion, were a family from Judah. And Judah was located in Bethlehem. And there is a famine. They don't have enough food. So they moved to a place called Moab. In Moab, there was a lot of behaviors and practices that were very counter to their culture and religious community. So this was a very foreign place. It was supposed to be temporary, but Elimelech, the family patriarch, actually died there. Their sons married two local Moabite women, and their name was Orpah and Ruth. And they lived as a family in this city for 10 years. That's a long time. Then tragically, both of Naomi's sons died, leaving her and her two daughter-in-laws by themselves. Now, here's Naomi. She's a Jewish woman. She's alone in a foreign land, and she decides to return to her homeland. And again, you remember she was from Bethlehem. Now, the Hebrew word for Bethlehem is the word bet, and bet means house or place, and lechem, which means bread. So Bethlehem translates house of bread. It's the place where Yahweh provides for his people. And it was where her people were, where the Lord was worshipped there. But because of this famine, the family left home, ironically, to find bread somewhere else. But after the loss of her husband and both of her sons, she hears that the famine is over. And Naomi is now returning back home. So she's lost everything. She's lost her husband, she's lost her two sons, and she's devastated. She's lived in another place for 10 years, away from her people, and Ruth and Orpah, her daughter-in-laws, are going with her. In Ruth chapter 1, verses 8 through 9, it says, Naomi said to her two daughter-in-laws, each of you go back to your mother's house. May Adonai show grace to you, as you did to those who died. And she's speaking about her two sons that they were married to, and to me. May Adonai grant you security in the home of a new husband. Then she kissed them, but they began weeping aloud, the text says. Now, Naomi was thankful for her daughter-in-laws, and in fact, they loved their husband, her sons, and they loved each other, and they were a family by choice. But Naomi realized she couldn't provide for these two young women. So she told them to return to their families' homes, find a husband for security and safety. Now, that sounds very foreign to us, but in this time and place, a woman without a father or a husband could only provide for herself in a few different ways, and most of them actually weren't good. So the love Naomi has for her daughter-in-laws considered her well-being over her own. So in other words, even though she was all by herself and she's lost her whole family and her two daughters-in-law were her only family at this point, she puts their needs over her own. She blesses them both in order for them to return back home so that they'll be provided for. Orpah left, but Ruth did not. Ruth chapter 1 verse 14 says, Ruth clung to her mother-in-law. And that's the Hebrew word dabak, and it means literally clinging in such a way where there's no space in between. It's that kind of clinging for those of you who have small children and you're trying to drop them off somewhere and the person is ripping them out of your arms, right? This is the word dabak. Ruth is clinging to her mother-in-law. Ruth makes a choice. She chose Naomi as her family and said these powerful covenant words. And it is actually the basis for our discussion this evening. In fact, I use this text sometimes in weddings. This is a powerful vow that a daughter-in-law makes to her mother-in-law, a family by choice. Ruth chapter 1, verses 16 through 17. But Ruth said, don't press me to leave you and stop following you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May Adonai bring terrible curses on me, and worse ones as well, if anything but death separates you and me. This is an intense vow. They were a family of choice before. But now this choice has been renewed by a vow that Ruth seals with saying, I bring a curse on myself if I break this. This is hardcore. The first thing that I want to look at is her first statement, which is, for wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you stay, I will stay. In other words, she says to her mother-in-law, I'm not leaving you. One of my first glimpses into the complexities of urban relationships, specifically chosen families, was when I was counseling a family about their adolescent son. And he just got involved with a gang. And this is when when my family first moved to Brooklyn, New York, in about 35 years ago or so. So we moved to New York, and there's a young boy who gets involved in a gang. And this young boy had come home from school with a gun. And the family found the gun. And the boy's biological father had been killed by street violence, and the stepfather was involved with selling drugs himself. So we were sitting at a small round table in a tiny Brooklyn kitchen, trying to get this kid to turn from this dangerous life he was moving towards, when his stepfather said to him, these boys say you're in their family, but you aren't really in their family. They're only there for you if you do what they want you to. They don't have your back. No one does. You can't rely on anyone but yourself. There's no one who will be there for you without getting something out of it. At this point, the boy was looking down at the table. The family had called me there as a minister to try to help them work through this. The boy had no expression whatsoever. I couldn't even tell what he was thinking. The mother was sort of nervously stirring a pot of rice, having already lost a husband and a brother to this ridiculous violence in the street, as well as her present husband, the man talking here, is involved in this life as well. And there are two little brothers intently peering through a curtain hung that separated the two rooms. The stepfather's words were loud and adamant, and they hung in the air in that kind of way that sort of sucks the oxygen out, leaving people literally unable to speak. There was a very long pause. And finally, I broke the silence. And I said, when you say there's no one who will be there, I respectfully disagree. God gives us the gift of people that will be there for us, unconditionally. They are a rare find, but when you look for them, it's possible to discover them. I'm here. I'm sitting right in front of you. I don't want anything from you, and I will be here with you and your family. You may leave me. Many people do. but I won't leave you. This big, strong man at first just stared at me. I almost thought he looked angry. I actually thought he was either going to pop me in the mouth or yell at me and kick me out. But then suddenly a flood of tears poured down his cheeks. And I reached out to touch his arm. And then he did something that I will never forget. He got up. He walked over to where I was sitting in this small corner at this little kitchen table. He kneeled down next to me on the side of my chair, and he put his face in my lap and started to cry with his whole body. Then the mother cried. Then the son cried. At that moment, the family was changed. They saw the real need, and it wasn't money, it wasn't power, it wasn't even protection. It was relationship. They saw that they could have what they all desired, and it was in their life already. And you know what? Not just with me, it was with each other. And that gave them hope. It was one of the first miracles I saw as I was starting my ministry. And it forever impacted me. That hope changed the trajectory of their lives. In fact, it saved their lives. In my 3 decades plus of teaching and counseling people, of walking with them in their faith journeys, I have seen the life and the power of family by choice. I have seen these words, "I'm not leaving," completely melt the prickliest of people and give many of them for the first time a glimpse of heaven. Ruth's words are sacred and cannot be spoken lightly, which is why Ruth said, "May Adonai bring curses upon me, if anything other than death separates us." Because there's nothing so painful as a person who makes a covenant and breaks it. But listen, we are people of covenant, designed to have it and to give it, which means we're able to. And this kind of unbreakable covenant heals our souls, and it gives us courage to live lives of purpose and love. Choosing covenantal connection is a commitment that is made actually with both eyes open. But here's the thing that we need to understand. Yahweh is both the creator and the curator of covenant. He's both the creator and the curator of it. It's confusing to me how Western church people understand and talk about covenant with God in such a conditional way. Whether it's the covenant that the Lord has with the Jewish people, that the Western Christian church thinks he swapped out for the Christian church, or how we quickly judge people's worthiness to be in relationship with God, I am so thankful that he is not like them. Jehovah doesn't break covenants ever. Humans do. But even when they do, that doesn't mean the Lord walks away. He still stays. David writes in Psalm 139, 7 through 12, "Where can I go to escape your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I climb up the mountain, you are there. If I lie down in Sheol, you are there. If I fly away with the wings of the dawn and land beyond the sea, even there your hand would lead me. Your right hand would hold me fast. If I say, let darkness surround me, let the light around me be night, even darkness like this is not too dark for you." And this is David, who tried his best sometimes to run away from God. He's speaking out of this intimate relationship with the Lord. It is the picture of covenant, not leaving David, no matter where he went. Ruth's words, "Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you stay, I will stay," are the glue of the family by choice. Chosen families. Do you have them? And if so, can you faithfully live with this sacred choice and responsibility? We're going to be talking through the remaining 3 parts of Ruth's covenant in our Sabbath Collective members group, which immediately follows this time. If you'd like to join us, this is a paid monthly membership group, And you can click on the sign up button on this page that you're at now, and it will take you through the PayPal portal. But we're also, over the next few weeks, going to be exploring what it means to be people of covenant. We're going to talk about what it is to be faithful, to be trustworthy, and how to rebuild trust if you've broken it, as well as how to trust again if you've lost it, and even when to walk away from a relationship. Inner circle relationships are the Lord's design, and that means He works with us, in us, to do it well. We're going to close this time with the lighting of the Shabbos candles. Traditionally, the mothers of the home light the candles, which connects us to the Sabbath light of unity, of peace, and of joy. And then what she does is encircle the candles with her hands 3 times to welcome in the Sabbath. Then she prays as she covers her eyes from the flame, which symbolizes an ending of all work. Blessed are you, Yahweh our God, King of the universe, who has set us apart by His commandments, and who has given us Yeshua the Messiah, and has set us to be a light to the world.